Hello, welcome to Tennessee's At-Home Learning Series for Literacy. Today's lesson is for all you 6th graders out there, though everyone is welcome to tune in. This is the first lesson in this week's series. My name is Megan Gilly and I am a 6th grade teacher in Tennessee schools. I'm so excited to be your teacher for this lesson. Welcome to my virtual classroom. If you did not see our previous lessons or you would like to go back and rewatch this lesson, you may do so at the Tennessee Department of Education's website at www.tn.gov/education. Today we will be learning about sticky rice. Before we get started, to participate in our lesson fully, you will need the following materials: a paper, pen or pencil, a firm surface to write on, and the student packet for ELA Lesson 16, which can be found on the Tennessee Department of Education's website at the link on the screen. So I will wait for just a moment while you collect your materials. And if you don't have access to the materials online, that's okay. You can still stay along with us and jot down your own notes on your loose leaf paper too. All right, let's get started. We will begin reading the text, A Taste of Sticky Rice, Laos's National Dish. We will analyze how the author uses a hook to introduce the central idea that sticky rice is an important part of Laotian culture and daily life. Today, we will focus on paragraphs 1 through 6 of the text. You will need a piece of paper and something to write with. And before we get into the text, we're going to learn a little bit about the country of Laos. So let's begin. In our lessons last week, we read the origin myth, Arachne. You wrote your own myth that included a moral or lesson. I definitely hope that you shared your writing with someone. Today, our goal is to find evidence in the text to develop an understanding of how the author introduces his central ideas about the importance of sticky rice in Laos. We will begin with me showing you what that looks like, and then there will be time for you to practice on your own with my support, and then finally I will assign you independent work that you can complete after the video ends. As we explore the text, we will begin asking and answering questions. We will find and keep track of evidence to support our ideas about each question. So take a minute to create the following graphic organizer like the one that I have created on the screen. We want to label 3 boxes on the left with central idea, hook, and then why did the author choose this hook for the central idea? And you can just jot at the top, Lesson 16 notes. So I will give you just another moment to finish that up on your piece of paper. Great work. Now that we have our notes for our graphic organizer, we will begin reading the text. The text that we are reading today is an informational article titled A Taste of Sticky Rice, Laos's National Dish. It is an article about sticky rice that uses a travel narrative with interviews as well as information to describe sticky rice's importance in Laos. It was written by Mike Ives and first published on Smithsonian.com in 2011. So let's learn a little bit about the country of Laos before we read. Laos, you can see on the screen is marked in red, is a small landlocked country in Southeast Asia, just south of China. You can see the red arrow pointing to it on the map. When we look a little bit closer at the map of Laos, we see that Laos borders China, Vietnam, Thailand, Cambodia, and Burma. Look at the map and think about, what does the word landlocked mean? Can you come up with an explanation or definition? Yeah, just based on looking at the picture, you can see that when we're talking about Laos being landlocked, we're referring to the fact that they do not have an immediate access to an ocean for trading with other countries. If they want to import, meaning buy, or export, meaning sell products to other countries, then they have to go through one of the 5 other countries they border to do so. The capital city of Laos is Vientiane, and it has a population of approximately 567,000 people. When comparing the population of Vientiane to our state capital, Nashville, our population in Nashville is approximately 670,000 people. So wow, our population in the capital city of our state is over 100,000 more than the capital of Laos. So take a moment and locate the capital city of Vientiane on the map. What symbol do they use to identify Vientiane as a capital? That's correct. They use a star on the map to show it's the capital. The total population of Laos total is approximately 7.5 million people. For another comparison, we have nearly 6.8 million people that live in our state, Tennessee. We have over 330 million people who live in the United States. The official languages of Laos are Lao, French, and English. Wow, we have learned some interesting facts about the geography of Laos. Now that we have some background on the country, let's begin our read of A Taste of Sticky Rice, Laos's national dish. So let's think about how authors begin a text. The way details are presented can be just as important as the details themselves, and nowhere is this more important than at the very beginning. Authors often use a hook to begin a text. A hook is a sentence or paragraph or section that gets the reader interested in the text. It can be almost anything, but a lot of the times it's one of the following: a question, an anecdote, which is a fancy word for the word story, and a statement. The purpose of the hook is really to get the reader interested in what the author has to say and to continue reading the text. As readers, it's important to understand how authors introduce ideas in a text, as well as how the details support that beginning. Today, we are going to analyze how Mike Ives, the author of the article, uses a hook to introduce the central idea that sticky rice is an important part of Laotian culture and daily life. So let's record that central idea in your notes. Again, the central idea is that sticky rice is an important part of Laotian culture and daily life. So go ahead and jot that on your notes template. And let's begin by reading the title and subtitle of this. So let's begin by reading the title and subtitle of this article. A Taste of Sticky Rice, Laos's national dish. One cannot travel to the Southeast Asian country without many meals of sticky rice, the versatile staple of Laotian cuisine, by Mike Ives. So the sentence below the title here is actually what we call a subtitle. Why do you think that the author would have used a sentence like that? How does it help us know what the article is going to be about? Great. I think by including this sentence below as the subtitle, it helps us to know that the text will be about an experience of somebody traveling through Laos. There's also some key words here. We have staple and the word cuisine. The definition of staple is basically the main part of somebody's diet. So what do you think the phrase versatile staple means? Okay, if you said sticky rice, then you're correct. It is the versatile staple of their diet. The other word here is cuisine. So what's another word for cuisine? You're right, it's food. So cuisine means the type of food or the cooking specific to a particular country or region. These words and the subtitle can help us identify the central idea. As we begin reading our text, I want you to think about all of these clues that help us to determine the central idea. So here we go. Luck was losing patience, and his stomach was grumbling like the diesel engine of the bus transporting him to northern Laos. He needed to eat sticky rice, he said, so badly. Why does the author begin the article with Luck was losing his patience and his stomach was grumbling? As a reader, I'm immediately wondering, well, who's Luck? What does he want to eat? So I'm asking questions as I'm looking at the text, and I want to know the answers, and we'll read on. If this is part of the author's hook, it has accomplished its purpose, hasn't it? Because I want to keep reading. So let's collect some evidence for the hook that the author uses in your notes. In the hook section of your graphic organizer, I want you to go ahead and jot down that Luck was losing patience and his stomach was grumbling. We also read that he needed to eat sticky rice, he said, so badly. So I'm also going to jot down that I know Luck wanted to eat sticky rice. How does that fit in with the author's hook? Right? We know that he's already hungry right off the bat. And what does he want? Sticky rice. So again, add that to your notes and we will continue reading on. He checked his cell phone. No service. Slumping into his seat, he looked out the windows, but it was mid-November in the Laos People's Democratic Republic, and in field after field, Laotian farmers were harvesting sticky rice and burning the discarded husks for fertilizer. Luck sighed. The smoky air carried a sweet, ricey aroma. So the official name for Laos is the Lao People's Democratic Republic. Laotian is the adjective form of Laos, so Laotian farmers are farmers in Laos. Notice the T in the word sounds like an S, so don't be confused by that. It's just one of those strange pronunciation exceptions. Also, what were the Laotian farmers doing? Yeah, they were harvesting sticky rice, and they were also burning the discarded husks for fertilizer. This tells me that sticky rice is actually grown in this country. That's something we should probably include in our notes. So pull your notes back out, and I want you to take a minute to jot that down too, that farmers were harvesting sticky rice. So jot that as part of the hook. Again, let's make sure that we understand before we move on what is happening here. So we see that, again, they were burning these discarded husks. Thinking through this, I know that husks is familiar to me. What crop has a husk? Corn, right? So corn husks are unnecessary, so we throw them away. Can you relate the phrase discarded husks back to sticky rice somehow? Well, a good response might be something like, sticky rice has a husk that farmers discard. They get rid of the husk by burning it to make fertilizer. If you said something like that or were thinking it, you're on the right track. Let's keep reading. It was the first day of a 6-day northbound journey from Vientiane, the tranquil capital, to a remote village near the Laos-China border. Luck, short for Vilaluk Anfan Mainai, is my 23-year-old Laotian friend and translator, whom I'd met on my first of 3 previous trips to the landlocked Southeast Asian country. He was assisting a gastronomic investigation. A friend and I were on a mission to learn the secrets of sticky rice, the mainstay of Laotian cuisine, and in the process, to eat as much of it as possible. So Here are a couple tough words to pronounce. Luck's full name, for example, may be difficult to pronounce. And another word that's a little bit strange is gastronomic investigation. Gastronomic is referring to, what do you think? Well, the author plans to investigate really good food, gastro relating to food. Now that I've done some detective word work, I want to go ahead and add to our notes. Here we have that the author states his purpose for his travels are to learn about sticky rice and its importance. So we're going to add that here. He was with the author and a friend to help them learn about sticky rice. So again, going back to that thought as you're writing down of travel narrative, well, here they are traveling through Laos, wanting to get a taste of sticky rice. Makes me want some. Let's read on. When our bus rattled into a dusty market, a group of women crowded the windows. Ao khao buar, they called. Do you want sticky rice, is what that translates to. Luck snapped to attention and called for 2 bags, one for me and my traveling companion, and one for himself. We ate it with our hands, Laotian style. Luck finished his portion before the bus started rolling. I feel better, he said, and promptly dozed off. Other passengers were either eating sticky rice or, like Luck, sleeping it off. So what effect does sticky rice have on Luck? Correct. Eating sticky rice makes him, one, feel better, and it looks like a little tired too. So let's add that in our notes here. I want you to go ahead and write that Luck announces, I feel better after he eats his sticky rice. It's how I feel after I eat breakfast each day. I feel better, and then I feel a little tired sometimes. All right, guys, let's go ahead and move on to the next portion. What explains the national love of sticky rice? Many Laotians laughed when we asked them. Sticky rice is what their grandparents and great-grandparents ate, they said. Perhaps they were caught off guard by my question. Like baguettes in France and sushi in Japan, sticky rice is so ingrained in Laos's culinary heritage that most Laotians don't think about it in isolation. As we continue to read this text, we see words that relate back to food, of course, and we learn the word staple and cuisine in the word gastronomic. In this paragraph, we have another food-related phrase, culinary heritage. You may have seen these words in separate settings. You may have seen the word culinary to describe a school for chefs, or you may have seen the word heritage in your social studies class. When we combine those two words, though, what do you think they mean? Think about the phrase culinary heritage and try to come up with a definition. Great. It refers to the kind of cooking or the types of food that are characteristic of a certain culture. In the paragraph that we just read, we actually have 2 examples. We have sushi in Japan and baguettes in France, which are long and narrow loaves of bread. And so you can see how the author is trying to paint this picture of culinary heritage. Laos's culinary heritage, of course, is what food again? Sticky rice. So we're going to stop here in the article for today. But to complete our notes, we need to be answering this question. Why did the author choose this hook for the central idea? Why did the author choose this hook for this central idea? Well, I want you to think about the central idea is that sticky rice at the very top is an important part of Laotian culture and daily life. Now we need to ask how the author introduces the central idea in the first section. Look at the notes that you have about the details that we learned. We've learned that Luck is really hungry and wants some sticky rice. Luck is with the author to help him learn about sticky rice. And when he gets some sticky rice, he is happy. Why is he so happy? Well, I guess because he loves sticky rice and it's so important to him and his culture. So the author introduces the article with the story of Luck finding sticky rice. That's his hook. Great, we found it. Now we want to ask, why did the author choose this hook for the central idea? Why did he choose a story about a Laotian desperate to get sticky rice? Well, first, I think that the author needed to show how important sticky rice is to Laotians, and Luck's need for sticky rice represents that, I think, for all Laotians. The author also included himself in the story. How does that help hook the reader? I agree. I think it was a great way for the author to let the reader know that his purpose for his trip was to learn about the importance of sticky rice in Laos. Now, take a minute to answer that question. Why did the author choose this hook for the central idea? And go ahead and write what you think on your paper in that part of the graphic organizer. Okay, and I will go ahead and share my response. I said that the author uses the story about Luck to represent how Laotians feel about sticky rice and lets the reader know that the purpose for his, meaning the author's trip, is to learn about Laos and sticky rice. It is an interesting and impactful way to introduce the information. I hope the author's hook worked as well for you as it did for me. I'm looking forward to learning more about Laos and sticky rice in our next lesson. Frankly, it's making me a little hungry. All right, let's go ahead and move on. There are multiple ways, again, for authors to write a hook. In today's article, the author used an anecdote, which is another word for story, to introduce readers to the topic of sticky rice in Laos. This was a successful hook because it immediately got us interested in what was happening in the text. And aside from using an anecdote, how else could the author have hooked his readers? Well, here's a basic list again of the ways that authors write hooks. If you don't have these in your notes, I want you below your graphic organizer or on the back side to write down the types of hook examples. One, we have an author could use a question. They could use an anecdote, which again is a story. Or 3, authors sometimes will use statements. So what really does each one of these do? What is the purpose? Well, when we have an anecdote, remember the word anecdote is just a fancy word for a story. A statement, if you use a statement, you'll want a strong sentence that relates directly to the central idea. And sometimes another way to get a reader hooked into what you're writing is with a question. And a question is just a basic way to hook that reader because it gets them thinking about that topic. So jot down what each one of those are. And if you need the definitions, great. If not, that is also okay. So let's think back to last week's lessons. Last week, we read an article about Greek mythology. If we were to write an essay about Greek mythology, we might want to hook the reader using one of the 3 strategies that we mentioned, a question, anecdote, or statement. So I'm going to put up 3 examples of a hook, and I want you to tell me if it's an anecdote, a question, or a statement. So here's the first one. Even though some Greek myths were written thousands of years ago, Greek mythology is still studied by many people today. The fact that ancient Greek myths are still relevant is quite astonishing. Can you tell me what type of hook this is? Does it seem like a story? Are we being asked a question? We're not. It is a statement. So if you were thinking that, great job. Let's take a look at the second example. What do you think it would be like to grow up in the times of ancient Greece. By studying ancient Greek myths, we can get an idea of how the ancient Greeks thought and how they approached life. If this were a hook for the start of a text, what kind is it? We've already seen a statement, so is it an anecdote? Is it a question? Sure thing, the question mark gives it away. What do you think it would be like to grow up in times of ancient Greece? That's a question, and it gets the reader thinking about the topic. Great job. Lastly, Arachne loved to weave, and she was very talented. She created the most beautiful tapestries until one day when the goddess Athena came to challenge her. Thinking, well, what type of hook is this? Yeah, it's an anecdote because I'm telling you a story to get you interested in the text. Okay, now that you have had some time to think about the ways that the authors use hooks to hook in their reader, it's time for you to practice writing a hook. So we will move on to our independent practice. For our independent practice, I want you to write 2 alternate hooks for the beginning of the article, A Taste of Sticky Rice, Laos's National Dish. You are going to write an example of a statement hook and a question hook. And also, to make it more challenging, I want you to include some vocabulary from today's lesson. So let's review. On your paper below your graphic organizer, go ahead and jot down those words there. Staple, gastronomic, cuisine, and culinary heritage. And as you're writing those down, I want you to understand the rest of your independent activity. And you can take a screenshot of this screen with a device if you would like. It says after you have written the 2 hooks, you're going to write a brief explanation on which hook strategy, anecdote, statement, or question, you think is the most effective for getting readers interested in the text we read today. So again, you are going to write 2 hooks for the beginning of the article, A Taste of Sticky Rice, Laos's National Dish. You're going to write a statement hook and a question hook, and try to use the vocabulary words from your notes. I wish you the best of luck on that assignment. I enjoyed analyzing how an author introduces a central idea today. Thank you for inviting me into your homes.